Donkey Kong Bonanza, excuse me, it's not a country game, quickly has proven itself to be the standout title of the Direct. Fantastic visuals, amazing combat system, just a really great fresh take on the character. I couldn't be more excited for this game and for this release. But the thing that somebody had to remind me of, the thing that really needs to be brought up and talked about is that this is the 3D platformer that Nintendo put out immediately after Astro Bot and paid for, right? This is Nintendo's response game. And we all knew that like Astro Bot couldn't compete with Mario Odyssey. All this long history of 3D Nintendo platformers, DK64, Banjo-Kazooie. Astro Bot and paid for was nowhere near the level quality of any of that, right? But the narrative for that game was that it was some unprecedented masterpiece, that it was visually stunning, that it did all these things. It was just a generic knockoff of a bunch of different Nintendo properties. Like actual Nintendo fans, people who actually play platforming games called this out immediately. Like, it's nothing interesting, it's nothing special, it's nothing remarkable. Donkey Kong Bonanza is essentially what Astro Bot was hyped up to be, right? This has the environments, the boss designs, it has like the gameplay mechanics, it has just like, the insane platforming we expect from a 3D platformer like this. Like this game is shaping up to be a masterpiece, and I really have to like bring this up, is that there is no way, absolutely none, that Donkey Kong Bonanza does not outperform Astro Bot right out of the gate, right? This is going to be really interesting to see, because this is why Game of the Year awards don't mean shit. Because Nintendo is putting out a better 3D platformer in less than a year after Jeff Keighley gave out that bought and paid for award, right? Not even a year later, Nintendo puts out Bananza, and it's gonna be bigger, better, have more content, just be this phenomenal game. Like, what are Game Journos gonna do? Is like my question going into this, because they're not going to acknowledge Bonanza as a great game. They're going to try and like write it off the same way they did Tropical Freeze. They're going to try. It's not going to work, but like, and it's going to raise some really interesting questions, because last year they gave Astro Bot a Game of the Year award, but this year they're going to try and like brush the far superior Donkey Kong Bonanza under the rug. A game that's better than last year's winner. Like, to me, I think Jeff is in this really, really bad position where like the bias of the Game Awards has become like very, very apparent. Like, you would never see a Nintendo platformer like get any real recognition at these showcases, right? Like, it just doesn't happen. And yet, for Sony's basic bitch like Mario knockoff Astro Bot, it gets lathered with all this praise, all this attention, all this hype, in spite of only selling like 1.5 million units, right? And then meanwhile, Nintendo's putting out better games left and right. It's just insane, looking at this. And I really don't think it's going to go over well when they have to talk about this game at the Game Awards this year. Like, this is going to reflect really badly on them no matter what happens, because I think it's going to be a general consensus among players that like this is a far superior game to Astro Bot, that it's already been forgotten, right? Like, Bonanza is just shaping up to be like a legitimately like all-time great 3D platformer, and yet like you're not going to hear a peep out of that from Game Journos, right? They're going to do everything they possibly can to bury it, just like they're trying to bury the Switch 2 right now. But like, if they try that after spending so much time hyping up Astro Bot as some like remarkable thing, it's really going to demonstrate their bias. It is going to be a very clear demonstrable example of just how biased against Nintendo the industry is. Either they allow Donkey Kong to get the same kind of recognition and easily overshadow like Astro Bot and everything Sony has been building up to for the past 10 years. You know, the entire illusion that this is some grand, spectacular IP is just shattered, right? Or they try and throw Donkey Kong under the rug and more people begin to see just what a farce that like the Game Awards actually is. Like, there's no winning here, you know? Like, they are in like this in a complete mess of a situation. Like, absolutely. And it's well deserved, you know, after what they did in 2023. Like, I hope they go under and like everybody involved gets fired and blacklisted from the industry. But like, this is just an amazing kind of like realization, you know, like Donkey Kong Bonanza is just going to demolish Astro Bot. You know, like there isn't going to be any real competition in that regard, but like how exactly is the industry going to respond to this? Like how exactly are they going to cope? How exactly are they going to seed? You know, are they even going to address it at all? You know, like that's definitely something that I'm thinking about at this stage. You know, looking at the footage and looking at what like the game is doing, like Donkey Kong Bonanza is everything Astro Bot was hyped to be and more. Like, it's really not even a comparison. And the simple fact of the matter is, like, the fact that nobody seems to, like, address this at all really goes to show you just how little of an impact, like, Astro Bot has actually had on the gaming population. You know, this is what paying off a Game Award show gets you, right? Like, you become immediately forgotten. Nobody remembers you. Nobody talks about you. And I think most poignantly, nobody really compares you with other games. Because if you put up Donkey Kong Bonanza versus Astro Bot, like, it's really obvious who's going to come out on top. And, like, Donkey Kong isn't the only 3D platformer that can do it. So, like, for me, this is just a really good example of just how irrelevant PlayStation is in the current market. You know, when a game that was that highly promoted, that worshipped, that shield just completely falls off the face of the earth in like not even a year, right? And we all knew it would happen, but like the fact that it's happening in the way it is just so spectacular, just so wonderful. I cannot wait to see Donkey Kong Bonanza become a huge success.